You are listening to Sophie and Sebastian. This week's story is about dandelions, ladybugs, and wishful thinking. This story is called The Ladybug Conservatory. Summer was in full bloom. The sun was shining and the flowers were buzzing with bees. Sophie was wandering around the garden, looking for dandelions. Dandelions make a wonderful present for a special someone. "So why does Dad always dig them out?" muttered Sophie. Then she thought, "Isn't it funny that dandelions are weeds but tiger lilies are flowers?" This was one of her cleverest jokes, and she imagined having to explain it. "Get it?" she would say. "Dandelions are lions, and tiger lilies are tigers, and lions and tigers are sort of the same. They're both cats, though much bigger than Darcy." This would be a great thing to say to Mrs. Wilson, but Mrs. Wilson was sleeping in her comfy chair on the porch, and Mum had told her not to be a bother. So Sophie kept hunting for dandelions. Finally she found the best kind, the kind that has lost its yellow petals and has gone to seed. The head of the flower was a perfect globe, a furry white hedgehog, a tiny explosion of fireworks. Sophie gently plucked the dandelion. She held it up to the light and breathed in deeply. Oh, how she wanted to blow the seeds! But if she blew them all away, she would be left with just an empty green stalk. It would be better to wait and make it a special event, like blowing out the candles on a birthday cake. Then Sophie spotted Bert and Fran in their garden. Bert was weeding the flower beds, and Fran was resting in a chair. Sophie went over to show them her treasure. "Check it out," Sophie said. "Isn't it beautiful?" "Lovely," said Bert. "Just don't blow it on my lawn." "Actually," said Sophie, "it's a present for Fran. She can blow it, or she can put it in water." Sophie handed her dandelion to Fran. She was secretly hoping that Fran would blow it. "It's beautiful," said Fran. "So delicate and fine. I feel I've got the whole world in my hands." Then she added, "How about we blow it together, and then we both make a wish?" "Okay," said Sophie, happily. So she stood beside Fran, and together they blew as hard as they could, until all the seeds were gone. "And now we make a wish," said Fran. "I wish that I may see you grow like a weed and blossom like a flower." Sophie thought for a moment. She wanted to say the same thing, because Fran sometimes looked so tired and hunched over, but she didn't want to be a copycat. So she said, "I wish that you don't shrink anymore." Fran laughed. "Thank you," she said. "That is very sweet." But Bert said, "I wish that none of these seeds grow up to be dandelions on my lawn." "Oh, Bert," said Fran, "what's a few more dandelions? Besides, you didn't blow, so you don't get to make a wish." And Sophie added, "Don't worry, Bert. One day all those new dandelions will lose their flowers, and then we can blow them too, and make even more wishes. And then I will make a wish that no more dandelions grow on your lawn." This made Bert cheer up a great deal. He smiled and said, "That's very kind of you. And now I have a gift for you. It's a ladybug. If you put your hand in mine, we'll let it crawl onto your palm." It was a beautiful red ladybug that found its way onto Sophie's hand. Every so often it opened its wings as if it meant to fly away. But each time it folded them again, just like you might close an umbrella after a few drops of rain. Sophie watched the ladybug crawl up her arm. She tried to count the spots on its back. She missed a bunch, and some she counted twice, and sometimes she skipped numbers, but her final count was quite precise. "This ladybug," she announced, "has 100 spots. It's probably a new record." Bert and Fran seemed most impressed, so Sophie added, "I think I will call her Julia, and she can be the first ladybug in my collection." "What if she dies?" said Bert. "Oh, Bert," started Fran, but Sophie said, "Don't worry. I will keep her in an old yogurt container with lots of leaves that she can eat, and I will poke holes in the lid so she can breathe." "Don't we all feel like that sometimes?" said Bert. But Fran said, "What a great idea. I will help you." So together they made a ladybug house just like Sophie had described. They even cut a window into the container and covered it with see-through tape. Sophie picked some leaves from Bert's favorite rose bushes, and she placed them in Julia's house. Then she dropped in Julia and closed the lid. As they were finishing up, Mum and Sebastian came out to give everyone a treat. Sebastian ran ahead, announcing the good news. "Ice cream! Ice cream!" he shouted. He was so happy that his body didn't know what to do with itself. He ran in circles, jumped in the air, and rolled across the grass. "Well," said Fran, "what a perfect way to celebrate our new Ladybug Conservatory." Then Mum asked what a Ladybug Conservatory was, and Sophie explained that it was a house where ladybugs lived and could be served something, like a concert maybe. "I bet ladybugs really like music," she said. "I will put my servatory by the radio." "That's a good idea," said Mum. "Now eat your ice cream in the shade." "Does it taste better then?" said Sophie. "I don't know," said Mum, "but it won't melt as fast." So they licked their ice cream in the shade. Bert and Fran in their lawn chairs, Mum on the front steps, and Sebastian and Sophie on the grass. While Sophie licked her ice cream, she watched the ants climb up the peonies to drink the nectar from the flowers. Then her thoughts trailed away, and she dreamed of all the other lovely ladybugs she could add to her collection. Just the other day, she had spotted 2 ladybugs on top of each other. They must have been sisters, she thought, giving each other piggyback rides. Meanwhile, Sebastian was licking his ice cream and looking through the window of Julia's house. There was Julia, resting quietly on a rose leaf. Sebastian wanted to see if Julia would crawl, so he shook the conservatory. Unfortunately, he shook it a bit too hard, and now Julia was nowhere to be seen. Where did she go? Sebastian decided to find out. He took off the lid and looked into the container. There was Julia, looking a little bit dizzy. Suddenly, she opened her wings and flew away. Julia was gone. When Sophie discovered what Sebastian had done, she broke into tears. "You are a pest," she shouted. "Why do you always have to wreck everything?" "I didn't do anything," said Sebastian. "I just wanted to give the ladybug ice cream." Sebastian pouted his lips. He looked like he was going to cry too. But Bert said, Now, it's not the end of the world. Did you know that when a ladybug flies away, you can also make a wish?" Sophie stopped crying, and Bert said, "What would you like to wish for, Sophie?" Sophie wanted to say, "I wish that Julia comes back," but she felt that there was no point in wishing for what wouldn't happen. So she said, "I wish that Sebastian would turn into a ladybug. Then I could put him in the servatory and keep him locked up." Then everyone laughed, even Sophie, because her wish was so silly. "I not be a ladybug," said Sebastian. He was somewhat confused, but glad that everyone was happy again. But Fran said, "Don't worry, you are just yourself, Sebastian. The most thoughtful wishes are often wishful thinking." So everyone went back to enjoying their snack. even Julia, who in any case much preferred aphids to ice cream.